We'll be live from Ian Foster's club in Te Awamutu. But we decided to give these three a task to pick their 36-man Rugby Championship squad. And I tell you what, there's been some trends. So let's go through a few of them. All three of you agreed to Mighty Williams will be picked in this team. You've also picked Nepo Laulala Mills.
No, he hasn't.
No, you haven't. You're the only one that hasn't. KT, you have.
Yeah, I just think, he's sort of come in, like we spoke about it earlier on, he's had a bit of a rest, but you need that nail in the scrum, and I think he's that dude to do that for them. So that's why I went with Nepo.
Yeah, I think he's proven that he can go there. He's been out for injury for a long time. His experience in the Crusaders and that too. I like him around the field a bit more too. So I've gone Jaeger there just based on limited opportunities so far this year.
To Mighty Williams, Jeff?
Oh, no doubt. Plays
it.
both sides. Plays both sides. Plenty of potential there. Need to find out how far he can go. We've actually got guys in front of him, and Lomax and De Groot who are playing well. Yep. So that's why I've got Nepo Laulala. It gives them that experience, that someone to fall back on. Yeah. What was interesting about all of the selection for me, when we talk about 33 players, prop was a position I couldn't get my 6-1 if I needed one. And there's a number of positions where there was no clear next standout. Remembering Joe Moody's not available yet. We're not sure whether he's going to be ready. Fletcher Newell's another one. George Bauer has been ruled out. So there could be a window of opportunity for somebody, but there's a number of positions for me that where I found it difficult to find the next guy, the next standout player.
Well, you've all found the next guy, Sammy Penny-Finau. You've gone Ethan Blackadder, which Kieran Reid wasn't so sure about just because of the injuries there. It was interesting to hear who he would select, right? Cullen Grace, who's not even out on the field at the moment.
Yeah, well, obviously it depends how bad his dislocation is, eh? But, Rita's obviously a bit closer than we are, so he can't be too far away, you know what I mean? So that's another one. But I just think you need that toughness. And that's why I went with...
Well, when are you going to see Ethan, though? I mean, at what point do you sit there and Kieran Reid talked about selecting injured players. I've got a sense you'd take some guys maybe into the squad, even if they're not available for the Rugby Championship. A David Havili, would you have them around the environment, would you?
I'd have David. So, I mean, injuries is a big part. Okay, but I'd have a guy like David Havili who's not going to effectively play, but essentially pick someone else in the All Black 15 to actually play. Havili and likes of your Sam Whitelocks, they go in the initial 36. I don't think Blackadder for me goes yet. I think when he gets to the Rugby World Cup, he's in my squad. Yeah, but he needs game time. So I mean, how do you get? He picked up an injury last night. So if I'm picking a 36, tomorrow. This is the team on Sunday. Blackadder doesn't make it, but does he make my World Cup team? I think he does. So the mix of the locking department and 6 is probably my biggest issue right now in terms of how that sort of works.
Sammy Penny-Finau, the prime example for me is the fact that if you're going to pick him, does he play? And when does he play? And how much faith do you put in the fact that he's going to step up immediately against Argentina, against South Africa? We will find out, not just with the squad, I think when they name their first team, how much they truly value the form of Super Rugby and where they see this competition right now. Because remembering they've got to trust and believe that the players that they've had in their environment, compared to the players who are playing well in Super Rugby, they've got to weigh those two things up. Yeah. And they've got literally 5 test matches before Rugby World Cup, 4 before they make a decision on a squad. So for Sammy Penny-Finau, where does that opportunity come? And how critical is, if you're trying to get some momentum, how well would he have to play?
Interesting 9 and 10 combinations. All three of you picked 3 different 9 combinations. I'm pretty sure you picked 5 of them, Mills. But none of you actually picked Beauden Barrett as a 10.
Did someone change the rules? Did they just pick as many as they wanted? Oh, apparently that's what I did all the time.
I want you to justify your 9 selections. Tell everyone who you picked, and also why you didn't pick Beauden Barrett as a 10. You want to start off, Mills?
I think Beauden's... Well, I'll start with the 9s, because I believe... Smith, obviously, we're all in agreement with that. Finlay and Weber, for me, go. But then it gives the other guys an opportunity to actually play in Japan. I think it's still up for grabs for guys for those last 2 spots.
So you take the 3 incumbents?
I think, yeah, you would. You'd take the 3 incumbents and give those guys an opportunity to really play. Realistically, you've got to remember, Foster's only got 5 games to get things right in terms of game plan. You want guys there that you're going to play right through. So why not give them the other guys that aren't necessarily going to play in Argentina or back into the test in New Zealand an opportunity to go to Japan and really say, well, hey, I'm playing. Let's see if you can put your hand up.
Who'd you go for as your third halfback?
Fakatava. Yeah.
So he's not even on that page, and that's the remarkable thing, because I went Cam Roygaard, and that means I'm having to. And look, I'm tossing up between Finlay Christie and Brad Weber, and both of them been great for their sides and
They
done
get
different
another
things
week.
and jobs. But we talk about our point of difference. That's what Sir John Kerwin's always talking about. So whether or not they need to find out and have them in the environment and go, you know what, the easy thing to do is let's bring Brad Weber back in or Finlay Christie back in, because they know exactly how we operate and what we do. They were able to come in and out of the squad last year. It's a hard one for one of those players. It's just an area where there's competition.
I think they've invested so much in Webby, you don't just flick him off. And I think they've got that security with him. But that's why I like Whakatawa. He's totally different. And still, we need him back into that environment too, you know. So
What could Weber do, Mills, that would convince them that he should get the nod over maybe if he's in competition with Christie?
Whakatawa, you mean?
No, I'm talking about Weber.
What about his combination with Damien McKenzie?
And this is where it comes back to. When you're in a coaching environment, well, one, you've got to get results, right? So Argentina is a huge task. You know, you've got to get guys coming back from playing in the final. And Fozzie's already mentioned that. There's no break for the guys that making the final. So, you know, you've got to go actually play. So who do you play? So one, you're trying to build combinations. You've got an injury crisis at the moment in terms of your locking department. You pump guys in there that have been in the environment and make sure, first and foremost, that you get sound and motivation and also confidence within the group that, hey, we're going the right way. Or do you start experimenting and potentially lose those couple? I mean, that's the balance you've got to. So for me, you go a little bit safer in there and let guys like I think Whakatawa being something different.
Yep.
But it hasn't quite worked out in those first couple of sort of, you know, Rugby Championship games. Those guys have played in the Japanese game where you go, actually, our point of difference now needs to turn to these guys who are playing a totally different style to what's happening here. It's based on the results that we're having at the moment in the Rugby Championship. Now, when we come to pick the Rugby World Cup, now we know, well, we've got to pick someone else that brings something totally different to the halfbacks we've got.